Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today by asking you to picture something specific.
Okay.
Maybe you've done this, or maybe you've watched someone do it. You are sitting on a couch, controller in hand, staring at a screen.
I'm with you.
You're playing a video game, something like Elden Ring or Dark Souls, or even a really high-level game of Tetris, and you are miserable.
Yes. Actively, deeply
You
miserable.
are tense, your heart is racing, your palms are sweating. You keep dying over and over and over again. You might even scream at the TV.
Oh, I've definitely screamed at the TV.
You are voluntarily subjecting yourself to this high-stress, high-failure, high-frustration activity.
And you probably paid $70 for the privilege.
Right. That's the thing. We pay good money to be frustrated. But here is the paradox that really hooked me when I was reading through the research for this deep dive.
What's that?
If real life treats us the way a video game does, if real life throws a massive, unexpected problem at us or limits our resources or makes us fail 10 times in a row, we don't feel engaged. We feel crushed.
Yeah, we feel anxious. We complain to our friends that the universe is out to get us.
It's this fascinating contradiction, isn't it? We seek out artificial struggle in our leisure time, yet we spend almost all of our working energy trying to eliminate struggle from our actual lives.
We do everything we can to avoid it. We optimize, we automate, we build these seamless systems.
Exactly. And that brings us to the core question we're exploring today. The research stack calls it natural friction.
Natural friction.
The hypothesis here is bold and honestly a little unsettling. It suggests that by engineering all the difficulty out of modern life, by making everything seamless, instant, and comfortable, we haven't just removed the annoyance. We might have accidentally removed the very conditions that make human beings feel alive.
We've engineered ourselves into a crisis of meaning. I mean, that's what it comes down to. We are comfortable, but we are bored. Or, even worse, we're anxious because we have nothing to push against.
We've got a massive stack of notes today. We are going to look at this through the lens of history, evolutionary psychology, and game design. We're going to talk about why your brain actually needs resistance to function.
It craves it, actually.
And how we can, ironically, gamify our lives, not by making them easier, but by making them harder in the right ways.
And that's the key, right? It's about distinguishing between the friction that just grinds you down and the friction that actually builds you up. Because they are not the same thing at all.
Not at all. So let's start with this analogy that runs through a lot of the research. It asks us to imagine human history as a single, continuous playthrough of a massive role-playing game, or RPG.
It's a really useful metaphor because it frames progress in a way we all intuitively understand. I mean, in a standard RPG, you start at level 1.
You got nothing. A rusty sword, a basic tunic, no money.
And the rats in the basement are a genuine threat. The gameplay, so to speak, is the struggle to survive and improve. You have to walk everywhere because you haven't unlocked fast travel.
Right, and you have to manually gather herbs and cook food because you haven't unlocked the auto healer or the infinite potion bag.
Exactly. And the fun of the game is the delta. It's the difference between where you started and where you end up. The friction is the point.
The friction is the story. But here is the problem with the history as a game metaphor. You and I, we didn't start at level 1. We didn't start with the rusty sword.
No, not even close. We were born into a game that had already been played for thousands and thousands of years by our ancestors. We inherited a save file at the very end of the game.
I love that image. We loaded a save file where all the bosses are dead and the castle is already built.
And think about the quality of life upgrades that are baked into that save file. It's staggering. Our ancestors spent generations, literally generations, grinding to unlock agriculture.
Just that one skill.
Just that one skill. Then they spent centuries grinding to unlock antibiotics, then electricity, then the internet.
So when my grandfather was born, he loaded a save file that had, say, the Industrial Revolution patch installed. He had trains and early factories, but he still had to walk to school 5 miles in the snow, and there was no AC. No television, really.
And his parents might have been playing on the agrarian patch. Life was tied to the seasons, to the harvest. But you and I, we are playing the digital omniscience patch.
Digital omniscience, that's a good one.
We have unlocked instant global travel, perfect temperature control, and access to the sum of human knowledge in our pockets.
Which sounds objectively amazing. I mean, if you told a medieval peasant about my average Tuesday, they would think I was a god. So why does it feel so hollow sometimes?
Because of how the brain processes rewards. In a game, when you finally unlock the fast travel ability after walking for 40 hours,
Oh, that's the best
it
feeling.
feels like a triumph. You appreciate it because you remember the friction of the walk. The reward is meaningful because it stands in contrast to the struggle.
But since I was born with fast travel, i.e. cars and planes, I don't feel it as a reward. I don't feel any gratitude when I get in my car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You experience it as a baseline. And this is such a crucial concept in psychology. Baselines do not generate gratitude. They generate expectation.
That's powerful. Baselines generate expectation.
You aren't grateful that your refrigerator keeps your milk cold. You expect it to.
Yeah.
And because you expect it, the only emotional reaction you can have to a refrigerator is frustration when it breaks.
That is such a depressing but completely accurate way to put it. We
Wow.
can't feel joy from our miracles, only annoyance at their failure.
It's a phenomenon called hedonic adaptation. But in this context, it's about what the research calls the loss audit. We tend to look at history and say, look at all the things we gained.
And we gained a lot.
A tremendous amount. Less infant mortality, less starvation, less agony. I'm not arguing we should go back to dying of smallpox or, pre-anesthesia to dentistry.
Right. Nobody wants to roleplay the Black Death level of the game.
But we rarely audit what we lost when we remove the friction. The research points out that every convenience kills a corresponding capability or ritual. Every problem we solve with technology is a problem we no longer have to solve with our own minds or bodies.
Let's walk through that timeline because the notes here are really interesting. It starts way, way back with fire.
Fire is the original cheat code. Before fire, we had the friction of digestion. We had to spend hours and hours a day just chewing tough, raw food to get enough calories to survive.
Like other primates still do.
Exactly. Fire externalized digestion cooking broke the food down for us. It freed up massive amounts of time and, more importantly, metabolic energy. Energy that many anthropologists believe allowed our brains to grow. Huge win.
A total game changer. But then we get to writing. And this is one where Socrates actually complained, right? He was worried about this.
He was. In the Phaedrus, Plato quotes Socrates worrying that writing would destroy the human memory. He called it a recipe for forgetfulness.
And was he right?
In a way, he was spot on. Writing removed the friction of storing information. Before writing, if you wanted to preserve your culture, your history, your stories, you had to memorize the Iliad. You had to hold the entire archive in your head.
It was an oral tradition passed down through bards and elders who had these incredible trained memories.
Once you can write it down, you can offload that cognitive load.
Yeah.
We gained a library, but we lost the internal archive. Our capacity for rote memorization has, arguably plummeted.
And now, fast forward to the GPS, I realized the other day I don't know how to get anywhere in my own city without the blue line on my phone.
That's the wayfinding friction being removed. And it's a perfect example. We used to build mental maps using landmarks and cardinal directions and the position of the sun. That builds a specific type of spatial cognition in the hippocampus.
A skill.
A skill.
Mm-hmm.
Now we just follow turn-by-turn instructions. We are passive passengers in our own navigation. We don't build the map anymore. We just obey the robot voice.
The big one, though, have to be the internet and the smartphone. That removed the friction of, well, almost everything. Boredom, ignorance, waiting.
It removed the friction of not knowing.
Yeah.
It used to be that if you had a question, who was the 12th president? Or what's the capital of Mongolia? And you didn't have an encyclopedia nearby.
You just had to live with it.
You just had to sit with the not knowing. You had to wonder, or you had to go to a library. There was a quest involved in getting the answer. A little bit of friction.
Now, the gap between question and answer is 0. Less than 0 sometimes.
And when the gap is 0, the value feels like 0. Information has become cheap because the friction to acquire it is gone. But more importantly, the internet removed the friction of solitude. It removed the friction of being alone with your thoughts.
You're never really alone anymore unless you make a real effort.
A concerted effort, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The default is to be connected, to be consuming.
This connects to something I read in the notes about enforced rest. Before electricity, the sun went down and you were kind of done for the day.
Right.
You couldn't really work, you couldn't scroll, you might read by candlelight, but even that was costly. The environment forced you to stop.
We lost the stopping cues. In the past, the world had edges. The day ended. The season changed. The harvest was finished. There were natural, cyclical points of rest.
But the digital world has no edges.
None. It is an infinite scroll, an infinite inbox, an infinite stream of content. Because the environment no longer provides the friction of stopping, we have to provide it ourselves. And that requires willpower, which, as we know, is a very limited resource.
So we are exhausted not because life is objectively harder, but because we have to constantly simulate the boundaries that nature used to provide for free.
That is the late game crisis in a nutshell. We have infinite capacity, infinite input, and no natural breaks. We've removed the friction that paces our lives, and now we're just spinning out.
I want to pivot to the biology of this because it's easy to say we're bored, but the research suggests it's much deeper than that. Our brains are actually, in a way, malfunctioning in this friction-free environment. Why does a brain react so poorly to constant comfort?
To understand that, we have to look at how the dopamine system actually works. In pop culture, we have this idea of dopamine as the pleasure molecule.
Right, you eat chocolate, you get a dopamine hit.
But that's not really accurate. It's a huge oversimplification. Dopamine is not about pleasure. It's about motivation. It's about pursuit.
A pursuit.
Yeah, the technical term is reward prediction error. Your brain is constantly running a simulation of the future. It predicts how much reward you're about to get for a given action.
Okay, so it's a prediction machine.
It's a prediction machine.
Yeah.
If you get exactly what you expected, dopamine doesn't do much. It stays flat.
So I expect the room to be warm, and I walk in, and it is warm. My brain just goes, yep, as expected, no reward.
Right. It's a maintenance state. But if there is a surprise, if things are better than expected, or if you are moving towards something better, that's when dopamine spikes.
Ah.
The brain rewards the derivative, the rate of change, not the absolute state. It's not about being at the top of the mountain. It's about the feeling of climbing.
This explains the temperature thing perfectly. If I'm in a 72-degree room all day, I feel nothing. I take it for granted. But if I go out in the snow and freeze for 20 minutes, then come inside.
That moment of transition, going from cold to warm, is euphoric.
It's one of the best feelings.
The absolute temperature of the room hasn't changed, but your trajectory has. You went from discomfort to comfort. Your brain tracks that slope and says, yes, we are improving. This is good. Do more of this.
So we need the contrast. We need the cold to feel the warmth. We need the hunger to enjoy the meal.
We need the contrast, and we need the effort. This brings us back to the video game paradox. Why do games work so well on our brains? Because they are contrast machines.
They're designed friction.
They are perfectly designed friction engines. You start weak, you get strong, you are lost, you find the way. The game engineers the friction specifically so you can feel the release of overcoming it. That's the dopamine loop.
The notes mention 3 specific things games do that modern life often doesn't. Let's break those down because I think this explains why I can feel more accomplished beating a level in a game than I do after a full workday.
The first, and maybe the most important, is clear goals. In a game, the objective is binary and explicit. Defeat the dragon. Find the 3 sacred keys. You know exactly what success looks like.
Versus life, where the goal is be happy, be successful. It's so vague.
Exactly. What does be a good parent look like on a Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m.? It's ambiguous. There is no progress bar. The ambiguity of life creates anxiety because we never really know if we are winning or losing.
A game tells you constantly if you're winning or losing, which brings us to the second one, right?
Immediate feedback. In a game, if you swing your sword and hit the monster, you see a number pop out of its head. You hear a sound effect. The XP bar goes ding right now. The loop between action and consequence is incredibly tight.
In life, I might go to the gym for a month and look exactly the same in the mirror. Or I might work really hard on a project and not get any recognition, let alone a promotion, for a year.
The feedback loop in modern life is incredibly loose and delayed. And because of that, our brains can't easily connect the effort with the reward. This causes something called temporal discounting. We stop trying because the reward is too far away to feel real.
Games just tighten that loop right up.
They make it instantaneous. And the third element is calibrated difficulty, or what's more commonly known as flow.
This is the idea that the game gets harder as you get better, right? It keeps pace with you.
Yes. A good game designer is an expert at keeping you in a very narrow channel. If the game is too hard, you get anxious and quit. If it's too easy, you get bored and quit. The game constantly adjusts to keep you right at the very edge of your ability, where you're stretched but not overwhelmed.
And life rarely does this.
Very rarely. Life is usually either boring, filling out forms, sitting in traffic, or completely overwhelming like a health crisis or losing a job. It rarely sits in that perfect flow state for long.
So games give us a sense of agency that modern life often strips away.
Agency is the magic word here. The deep psychological need isn't actually to suffer. It's to feel like you are the cause of an effect in the world.
I can make things happen.
Exactly. When you overcome a boss in a game after trying 20 times, you have irrefutable proof. I did that. I struggled. I learned the patterns, and I overcame. It validates your existence as an active agent.
And when we use the cheat codes in life, when we order food instead of cooking, when we Google the answer instead of thinking it through, we are stripping away those little opportunities to prove our own agency.
We become passengers. And passengers are safe, but they aren't satisfied. They're not driving. This is why we see the rise of what the notes call artificial friction.
Artificial friction. I love this term. It's so perfect.
It's the great historic anomaly we are living in. For 99.9% of human history, the problem was too much friction. The environment was actively trying to kill you.
Cold, hunger, predators, disease.
The goal of all of human innovation for millennia was to reduce friction, to make life safer, easier, more predictable.
And now, for the first time, we have succeeded too well.
We succeeded so well that we have to invent fake problems to stay sane. Think about a gym. A modern gym is the ultimate example of artificial friction.
It's completely absurd if you think about it.
We drive a car using technology to avoid the friction of walking, to a climate-controlled building, to pay money to lift a heavy piece of metal, only to put it back down in the exact same spot.
If you explain a gym to a pioneer breaking sod on the prairie, they would think you were completely insane. You have spare energy. Come help me plow this field.
Exactly. But we need it. Our bodies expect physical load. Our minds expect resistance. Since the environment no longer provides it naturally, we have to simulate it.
And we do it in all these other ways, too.
All over the place. We simulate hunger with intermittent fasting. We simulate thermal shock with saunas and ice baths. We simulate danger with rock climbing or horror movies.
We're LRPing survival, live-action role-playing.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
We are consciously reenacting the effort-reward loop that our biology demands because our technology has short-circuited the real one. We're trying to get that dopamine hit from overcoming something, anything.
I want to talk about a specific type of friction that feels different than going to the gym. The notes pivot to something very mundane here, which I found fascinating. Chores.
Ah, yes, the chop wood, carry water of the modern age.
I have this weird relationship with mowing the lawn. I dread it. I put it off. I hate the idea of it. But once I'm doing it, and especially when I'm done, I feel surprisingly good.
Grounded.
Yeah, grounded. Better than I feel after 3 hours of answering emails. Why is that? What's going on there?
This brings us to a really useful distinction the research makes between burden friction and rhythm friction.
Okay, unpack that for us.
Burden friction is the stuff that feels like a glitch in the system. It's frustrating and drains your energy. Think about being stuck in traffic, or dealing with a terrible automated phone menu, or a crashing computer.
Bureaucracy. Filling out the same form 3 times.
Yes, it is unpredictable, it feels pointless, and it usually involves waiting on someone or something else. It drains your sense of agency because you're helpless.
Right. There's no skill in sitting in traffic better. You just have to endure it.
Rhythm friction, on the other hand, is maintenance. It's washing the dishes, shoveling snow, raking leaves, mowing the lawn. It's predictable, it requires physical effort, and most importantly, it produces a visible, tangible result.
That visual result part feels key to me.
It is. This connects directly to a psychological principle called the Zeigarnik effect.
What's that?
It's the tendency for your brain to remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. Essentially, unfinished tasks stay active in your memory. They create cognitive noise.
It's like having a browser tab that's playing music, but you can't find which one it is.
That's a perfect modern analogy for it. A messy kitchen is a series of open loops for your brain. Fork is dirty, plate is crusty, counter is sticky. Your brain is suddenly tracking all of these little threats to order and cleanliness.
So it's a low-level, constant hum of stress.
Exactly. When you wash the dishes, you are systematically closing those loops. You are silencing the noise. The satisfaction isn't just the room is clean, it's my brain is quiet.
And unlike so much of modern work, the feedback is undeniable, isn't it?
Completely. You work in knowledge management, right? You send emails, you have meetings, you move things around in a spreadsheet. At the end of the day, can you point to the physical thing in the world you changed?
Rarely. I mean, sometimes I feel like I just move bits around in a cloud. It feels totally abstract.
And that leads to a sense of alienation. But when you shovel the driveway, you can turn around, look at the black asphalt against the white snow and say, I did that. That clean space exists because of my effort. It anchors you in physical reality.
The notes call these environmental anchors.
Yes. We are temporal creatures. We need to know where we are in time and space. Seasonal chores, raking in the fall, shoveling in the winter, planting in the spring, they lock us into the rhythm of the planet.
Which we've mostly lost.
We mostly lost.
Yeah.
When we live in 72-degree boxes with strawberries from Chile available in December, we lose our temporal footing. We start to drift. These simple chores re-anchor us.
It's funny, I remember a specific day last winter. I had been incredibly stressed about some project at work, totally abstract anxiety, what if the strategy is wrong, that kind of stuff.
The what ifs.
Yeah, all in my head. And then a blizzard hit. I had to go out and shovel for 2 hours straight. It was heavy, wet snow, hard work.
And the anxiety.
It vanished completely. My back hurt, my face was freezing, my hands were numb, but my mind was completely clear, blank.
Because the problem was right in front of you. The problem was snow. The solution was in your hands. A shovel. It was a finite game with a clear win condition.
Get to the blacktop.
Get to the blacktop.
Yeah.
Abstract anxiety is an infinite game. It has no clear end. Physical labor forces you into the present moment. It rests the default mode network, the part of the brain that ruminates and worries and activates the task-positive network. You were too busy moving snow to worry about spreadsheets.
So we know this. We know the gym makes us feel better. We know doing the dishes calms us down. We know the hike is worth the blister. So why is it so hard to start? Why do I negotiate with myself for an hour before I put on my running shoes?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the gap between knowing and doing, and the main culprit is a powerful cognitive bias called temporal discounting.
Which means, what is that in simple terms?
It means your brain is an incredibly short-sighted investment banker. It values immediate comfort and pleasure wildly more than it values future benefit.
It wants the reward now.
It wants it now. The you of right now wants to sit on the couch and scroll on your phone. The you of 1 hour from now wants to have run 3 miles. The brain almost always listens to the right now you because the energy cost is immediate and real, and the reward is theoretical and in the future.
It's an old survival mechanism, right? Conserve energy unless you absolutely have to.
In a scarcity environment, yes. Don't burn precious calories unless you're running from a lion or chasing down dinner. But in our calorie-rich, lion-free environment, that same mechanism becomes a trap. There's another piece to it, too. The anticipation trap.
Is that where we imagine the task being way harder than it actually is?
Yes. Your brain simulates the effort before you do it, but the simulation is often buggy. It's like a bad video game. It amplifies the pain and the difficulty and minimizes the potential reward. The dread of doing your taxes is almost always worse than the actual act of sitting down and doing them.
I feel that in my soul. I will dread a 10-minute phone call for 3 days. The anticipation is the worst part.
And that dread creates anxiety. And here's where the research gets really profound. It suggests that action isn't just a way to get things done. It is a direct anxiety cure.
How so? What's the mechanism?
Anxiety thrives on open loops and infinite untested possibilities. Anxiety is the brain just asking, what if? What if I fail? What if it's too hard? What if they say no? It is a spinning wheel of potential, mostly negative futures.
And action stops the wheel.
Action collapses possibilities into reality.
That is a great line. Can you say that again?
Action collapses possibilities into reality. As long as you're just thinking about making that difficult phone call, it could go a million different ways in your head.
And usually they're all bad ways.
Usually bad. But the moment you dial the number, it can only go one way. The way it is actually going. You have collapsed the wave function, to borrow from physics. You have forced the universe to declare itself.
There's a quote in the notes I love. Thinking analyzes possibilities. Action creates realities.
Exactly. And even a small action restores agency. If you are overwhelmed by a messy house, the thought, I have to clean this whole house, is paralyzing. But the action of picking up one sock and putting it in the hamper,
That signals something to your brain.
it signals, I am not helpless, I am an agent, I can affect my environment. That tiny signal is enough to dampen the anxiety response and build momentum.
So if you're listening to this right now and feeling stuck or anxious, the advice isn't try to solve the whole problem. It's move one physical object. Send one email.
Forward motion is the antidote. The brain cannot be anxious and fully engaged in a physical or cognitive task at the same time. They use different neural networks. Action starves anxiety.
Okay, so we've established that we need friction. We need to override our save file instincts. But I can hear a listener thinking, wait a minute, my life is already hard. I'm broke. I'm tired. My boss is a jerk. Are you seriously telling me I need more struggle?
And that is a critical distinction to make. We are not advocating for masochism. We are not saying all suffering is good. This is where we have to talk about the treadmill problem.
What's that?
The treadmill problem is when you engage in friction that doesn't go anywhere. It's that burden friction we talked about earlier, but on a larger scale. If you are struggling just to pay rent, or struggling with a chronic illness, or in a toxic job, that is not gamified friction.
That's just hardship.
That is just hardship. That doesn't build you up, it wears you down. It's like being on a treadmill that's set too fast in a room with no windows. You're expending massive energy, but you're not going anywhere.
So we need to design our quests very carefully. How do we distinguish between good friction, the stuff that builds us, and bad friction, the stuff that just drains us?
The research gives us 3 clear criteria for designing a meaningful struggle. The first, and by far the most important, is consent, or, to put it another way, agency.
Chosen versus imposed.
That is the whole ballgame. It makes a huge difference. If I drag you outside and force you to take an ice bath, that is torture. You will be traumatized by it.
Right.
But if you choose to take an ice bath because you've read about the health benefits and you want to challenge yourself, that is a growth experience. You will feel empowered. The physical sensation, the freezing cold, is identical. The psychological frame is the complete opposite.
So we need to look for areas in our life where we can reclaim agency, even if the task itself is imposed, like a mandatory project at work. Can we find a way to reframe it as a challenge we are choosing to accept and master?
Exactly. I have to do this creates burnout. I choose to conquer this creates resilience. The second criterion is a focus on values-based versus outcome-based goals.
This is the classic, it's about the journey, not the destination idea, isn't it?
It's a bit deeper than that. An outcome-based goal is I want to lose 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Or I want to get $1 million. The problem with these goals is once you achieve it, the game ends. And very often you feel empty. This is known as the arrival fallacy.
We think we'll be happy when we get the thing, but then we get the thing, and we're just us, but with the thing. And now we have no goal.
And you lose the sense of direction that the goal provided. Humans feel most alive during the striving, not the having. The process of striving stretches time and fills it with meaning. Arrival compresses it into a single, often anticlimactic moment.
So a values-based goal would be...
Instead of, I want to lose 20 pounds, it's, I want to be a healthy person. Instead of, I want to write a novel, it's, I want to be a disciplined creator. These aren't outcomes. They're identities.
Yeah.
They're infinite games.
And that's the third criterion, finite versus infinite games.
Yes. Based on the work of James Cars, he wrote a beautiful book on this. A finite game is played for the purpose of winning, which ends the game. A promotion, a degree, a marathon.
There's a clear finish line.
A clear finish line. An infinite game, however, is played for the purpose of continuing the play. You don't win at being a good parent. You just keep playing. You don't beat being a curious person. You just keep learning.
So getting a promotion is a finite game, but becoming a better leader is an infinite game.
Precisely. And the most meaningful, sustainable friction is found in the pursuit of these infinite games. Because the resistance never runs out, the opportunity for growth never runs out. You can always be a better parent. You can always be a better writer. You can always be a kinder person.
So the solution to the late game crisis, this feeling of comfortable emptiness, isn't to smash our iPhones and move to a cabin in the woods.
No, absolutely not.
Boy,
We don't want to throw away the save file. I like anesthesia. I like antibiotics. I like not having to hunt for my dinner. That would be a huge step backwards.
We want the new game plus.
Exactly. For the gamers listening, New Game Plus is when you beat the game and then you get to restart it from the beginning, but you keep all your skills and gear. To keep it interesting, though, the enemies are tougher and the patterns are different.
We keep the upgrades of modernity, but we voluntarily increase the difficulty setting on a personal level.
That is the synthesis. We use the convenience and safety of the modern world to free up our time and energy, not to rot on the couch, but to tackle higher-order problems. We don't have to fight wolves anymore, so we can fight for community or for art or for knowledge. We choose our dragons.
We have to be the architects of our own struggle.
That's it. We have to design our own friction. A mental model I find really useful is this. Remove the friction that destroys you. Toxic relationships, pointless bureaucracy, preventable disease. Get rid of that stuff.
The burden friction.
The burden friction. But you have to preserve and even seek out the friction that develops you. Complex learning, physical exertion, awkward but necessary social conversations. Deep, focused work.
I love that framing. Preserve the friction that develops you. It changes how you look at a difficult day. Instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? Terry, you can think, is this XP? Is this a chance to grind and level up?
Am I leveling up from this? It turns the obstacle into the path. It reframes the struggle as the point of the game.
So let's wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground here, from the dopamine of an ice bath to the philosophy of the lawnmower. If we boil this all down to a core takeaway for the listener, what is it?
I think it comes down to what the research calls the 3 pillars of a good life. It suggests we need a balance between 3 specific things: stability, challenge, and direction.
Okay, so stability is safety, food, shelter, Wi-Fi, a baseline of security.
Yes. And the modern world gives us pillar 1 almost automatically. For many of us, it's the default state. But a stool can't stand on one leg. It's unstable.
And pillar two is challenge. That's the friction we've been talking about, the chosen struggle.
And pillar 3 is direction. That's the infinite game, the why behind the struggle, the values that guide you.
And since the world no longer forces challenge and direction on us for basic survival, we have to build those other 2 pillars ourselves.
That's our modern task. If you have stability without challenge, you are bored. If you have stability without direction, you are lost and adrift. You have to actively go out and find the heavy things to lift and the meaningful reasons to lift them.
It's a responsibility then, but it's also a profound freedom. You get to choose your own quest.
And that is the ultimate luxury of the modern age, isn't it? We are the first humans who, on a mass scale, get to choose what we struggle with. We shouldn't waste that luxury by choosing nothing at all.
I want to leave everyone with one final thought from the research that I've been chewing on all week. It's about the nature of the perfect life that we all seem to be chasing.
Go on.
The thought is this. We often fantasize about a life where everything is easy, a life on the beach with no obligations, no problems, a frictionless existence. But the most meaningful moments of your life, if you really think about them, usually aren't the ones where you were relaxing. They are the moments where you were struggling towards something you cared deeply about.
The goal isn't a future where you can finally stop. The goal is to build a present moment that is so engaging it's worth inhabiting.
Don't look for a frictionless life. Look for fiction with purpose.
Well said.
Thanks for diving in with us. Go find something heavy to lift. We'll see you next time.